I'm telling you that quitting drinking is hands down the best thing that I have ever done for myself. I am so much happier. I'm so much more relaxed, and I still have a lot of fun. Everything that was good in my life before I quit drinking is even better now. And all of the stuff that was hard before, that's better too. Sobriety doesn't magically fix everything, but it 100% makes everything more manageable. It's made me more capable. Welcome to the Shannon McCabe Show, where we break free from our drink-obsessed culture, challenge the myths around alcohol, and redefine sobriety as the empowering choice it truly is. I'm Shannon McCabe, sober coach, holistic nutritionist, and your guide to a life that feels better without booze. Whether you're newly sober, sober curious, or years into this journey, this podcast is here to give you the truth about alcohol, the tools to build lasting confidence, and the hope that a vibrant, fulfilling life is waiting for you on the other side. So grab your coffee or sparkling water and let's dive in. Welcome to my show, friends. I want to invite you guys into my world and into my story. So today I'm going to share a little bit about where I was and how I got here. So my story is mine, but parts of it are not all that different from a lot of other people's stories, probably even yours. I was a woman in my 30s who had it all and was doing it all. I had everything, right? On paper, everything was perfect. A beautiful family, great marriage, awesome husband, house with the literal white picket fence, and really fulfilling work. I was running a successful health and wellness business from home while also homeschooling my 3 daughters, one of whom has special needs. My middle daughter has Down syndrome and autism. She is nonverbal. She is still in diapers. It's intense, but it's our normal, and it's been our normal for a long time. So at the time that my drinking really started to ramp up, we'll call it, the girls were 4, 7, and 10. But honestly, you guys, my drinking had been slowly getting worse for a few years before that even. But this is going to be the starting point of my story for today, okay? So anyways, I was eating healthy. I was running 4 to 5 days a week. I had done a couple half marathons. I checked all of the boxes of a healthy lifestyle, you guys. So much so that, like I said, I was actually running a really successful holistic health business from home. I was literally coaching and advising people on how to make healthier choices in their life, all while alcohol began to take up more of my own time and energy. There's such a huge disconnect between what alcohol really does to our mind and body and the story that it can be part of a balanced, healthy lifestyle. That's a conversation for another day, though. I promise we will get into that in another episode. But today I just want to stay focused on my story, my beginning here. So I was doing all the right things, right? I was eating well, I was running, I was taking supplements. So who really cared if I had a couple glasses of wine at the end of the day? I had earned it, right? This is what I told myself every day. This is what so many women tell themselves. I was a good mom. I am a good mom. I was doing all of the right things. I was taking care of everybody. I was working hard. I was checking every single box. So what did it really matter if I was unwinding with a couple glasses of wine, most nights of the week? And yes, it was more on the weekends, but it was fine. I was fine, right? It's fine. I'm fine. We're fine. I was doing what a lot of our friends were doing, it seemed like. So how bad could my drinking really be? That was the narrative in my head for a long time. But you guys, this is when a slow but obvious shift started to happen, okay? When my drinking became more than just an innocent nightly routine. Because at first it was just that couple of glasses a night. It was an innocent way to unwind. But it slowly but very surely started to turn into staying up late at night by myself to keep drinking. This became my ultimate alone time. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about because you either do it yourself or you know women that do. After my husband went to bed, after the girls were down for the night, that was my time. I would turn on Netflix, I'd put my feet up, and I'd have more wine. I cannot count the number of pictures I have on my phone right now still of me wrapped up in a blanket on the couch, cuddling with my cat, holding my wine glass with the TV on in the background. And the timestamp on all of these pictures gets progressively later, right? It's 10:30 at night. It's 11 o'clock at night. It's midnight. Why? Why was I sitting alone on the couch drinking with my cat and taking pictures of it? Why do we take those pictures? Like even now I look back and I just shake my head and I'm just like, why? Why did I? And like all I can come up with is because I think we're told that this is the ultimate relaxation. This is sophistication. This is our reward. This is what we earn for our good behavior, right? This is the gold star on the worksheet of being a mom. We do everything for everybody all day long. And then we get this like stolen, but so well-deserved alone time at the end of the day. So while I was doing this, it still seemed innocent enough, right? Like I told myself it was innocent enough. Everything around me told me it was innocent enough too, right? Like I was the poster child for mommy wine culture. And we'll talk more about mommy wine culture in a little bit, but I was still doing all of the things that I needed to be doing every day. And for the most part, I felt fine. So like, what was the big deal? Except that soon those like couple or few glasses turned into for sure a few glasses. And then all of a sudden it was a bottle. Like I could easily drink a bottle of wine by myself throughout the course of one night. And even when that started to happen on a more regular basis, I was like, well, who cares? I could manage. I'm still managing. Everything's still fine. Everything that needs to get done is getting done. So I'll figure it out. Like it's fine. The running dialogue in my head was always just like, it's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine until it wasn't, you guys, because soon the demands of my business grew. It started needing more of my time and more of my attention, which again, on paper was great, right? I was successful. Everything was growing, but finding time for the other things that were keeping me healthy suddenly became harder to do. So my running started to fall off because I now had to work more, still take care of the girls, still homeschooling the girls, still dealing with Dylan and a special needs daughter and everything that comes with that. So I like started running less and less. And it's the same story. You tell yourself like it's just a season, right? Like pretty soon work will slow down. Pretty soon the kids will get easier. Pretty soon this, pretty soon that. And I just kept telling myself that. But that's how it snowballs. And that's how it snowballed for me. So pretty soon, the first glass of wine started coming earlier and earlier every night, right? Because I wasn't taking the healthy stress relief of running and doing other things for myself. I was working. I was taking care of the girls. I was homeschooling. So like waiting until after dinner to have a glass of wine turned into having wine while I was cooking dinner, turned into having wine before I even started cooking dinner, turned into having wine at 4 p.m. And then before I knew it, I hadn't run in months. Like it slowly trickled down to, oh, okay, I'm only running a couple days a week. And then, oh, I haven't run in a couple weeks, but that's okay, right? Again, it's okay. This is just a season. It's a busy season in my business. It's a busy season with the girls. We're going through something hard with Dylan. It'll be fine. I'll get back to it. But I didn't. Pretty soon I hadn't run in months. And before I knew it, I hadn't run in years. And while that was happening, then I really started to change. Like the weight started to creep on. I was spending so much time inside my head wrestling with the person that I saw in the mirror and the person that I was becoming. But I just didn't know what to do anymore because I didn't feel like myself at this point anymore. And I certainly didn't look like myself, but I was still doing all the things that needed to be done for everybody else. And alcohol, being the way alcohol is, had really started to just seep into my mind, so much so that I loved drinking alone more than a lot of things in my life by that point. So yes, you guys, now I have fast forwarded through a few years right there, right? But it's important to note that this is how slippery the slope becomes and how quickly it can happen. We make small sacrifices in the name of our drinking, small compromises that don't necessarily feel like a big deal in the moment. We convince ourselves they're not a big deal, but they compound over time. And every time that we compromise on our priorities, or every time we compromise and sacrifice something else that's been important to us in the name of drinking, it becomes easier to do that again the next time. And so that's how we slowly start letting ourselves go, or start blaming anything and everything else for the stress or the problems. It gets easier and easier to think that it couldn't possibly be us and it couldn't possibly be our drinking or be alcohol. but it's always something else, right? Like we're stressed out and overwhelmed because of the kids or because of my job or because of something happening with my family or my friends. Like you just almost can't even see it happening because I was making these small little concessions to alcohol on such a regular basis that it got to the point that it didn't occur to me that a lot of my problems were now being caused by this thing that I swore was the thing that actually was helping me relax somehow, right? Because again, this is the story that we're told. This is the narrative that we're given, that drinking makes everything better for us. So this was the mess inside of my head. This is what I was like talking myself through and talking to myself about on a daily basis, just trying to figure out like, how did I get here? Where did this all go so sideways? Because deep down, you guys, I was getting worried. I had experienced enough like physical and mental changes that it was concerning to me, but I just didn't know what to do about it. Because I did have some friends that seemed to drink like I did, and they didn't seem worried. So I'm like, why do I really need to be worried about this? I also had friends that didn't drink as much as I did, or didn't drink as often as I did. Again, nobody was really talking about it though, right? Like nobody certainly ever said anything to me about my drinking that they did see. So I was like, okay, this probably isn't such a big deal then. I'm going to just keep trying to figure it out. I'm just going to keep trying to figure this out on my own. So you guys, I spent years in that phase, in that like suffering in silence, because that's what it was. I was stuck in this cycle of overdoing it. Every time I said I wasn't going to drink, I did drink again. And when I did drink, I always drank more than I intended to. And so then I'd wake up feeling, like physically awful, like the hangovers were getting worse. I was so mad at myself and so disappointed in myself and feeling so much shame and guilt and regret. And so promising myself, okay, I'm not going to drink today. I'm going to cut back. I'm going to slow down. It's only on weekends. It's only before dinner, or maybe it's only after dinner. It's only going to be organic wine. It's not going to be hard liquor, all of that stuff. Every day I was trying to find and figure out the magic combination to make my drinking less again and make it feel more normal and more manageable. But I couldn't ever actually really figure it out. So there I was left, just like still looking in the mirror, like barely recognizing myself. At this point, like my eyes just like, I felt vacant. Like I look at myself and I look at pictures and I'm like, who is this woman? Because she was me, but she just looked sad and like puffy and lost. And I was starting to get more worried about my health. I was starting to get more worried about what drinking was doing to me, but I couldn't figure out how to stop. At this point, I couldn't even take a few days off without it taking a lot of energy. I would do it because I wanted to prove to myself or even prove to my husband that I could make it a few days without drinking. But it took so much physical and mental energy for me to not drink on those days. I was still just always thinking about it and waiting for the next time that I could drink. And so this whole time I was still just beating myself up. Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I figure this out? Like, why do I keep getting sucked into this cycle of drinking and then hating myself for it, but still wanting to do it? And why can't I figure this out on my own? Like, what is wrong with me? What if you could finally break free from the constant cycle of drinking, quitting, bargaining with yourself, and actually build a life that feels calm and clear and deeply aligned with who you want to be? I created the Alcohol-Free Blueprint for women who are ready to stop trying to moderate and start feeling confident and steady and fully present in their life again. This program isn't just about quitting drinking. It's about taking back your energy and your mindset and your wellness and your freedom. Inside the blueprint, I'll walk you step by step through the tools, mindset shifts, and support systems that actually help you change for good. You'll learn how to handle cravings, rebuild your habits, feel stronger in your body, and navigate all of life's ups and downs without alcohol. And you'll have full access to over 45 video lessons, journaling prompts, live coaching, and community support. So you never have to do this alone. One of my clients, let's call her Sarah, came to me after years of trying to control her drinking. She told me, I finally feel free. I'm not constantly thinking about drinking anymore. I have energy again and I actually like myself. And that's just the kind of change we're after. Most of my clients are excited to no longer be a drinker after just 30 days inside the blueprint. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start living the life alcohol has been holding you back from, head to the link in the show notes or go find me over on Instagram. I would love to help you take this next step. Here's the thing that I didn't know then, you guys, though. The thing that I didn't understand then when I was stuck in this like soul crushing cycle is that nothing was wrong with me. It wasn't me. Alcohol is a really powerful drug, you guys. It is an actual drug. Even that, I didn't know the truth of that at the time. I didn't understand that alcohol is in fact a drug. It hijacks your brain. It literally rewires your brain. It changes the chemical action in your brain to such an extent that if you give it enough time and give it enough chances, it's going to take control. And that's exactly what I had done, right? I had been giving it years and years of chances. I had given it so much time. So by the time March of 2020 hit, you guys, my drinking escalated really, really quickly, which I know is not something that's unique to me. Right now, I feel like a huge part of the sober movement, the sober curious movement, is women like me that kind of just had the wheels fall off the bus when March of 2020 hit. For me, this is when I started hiding alcohol in my home office. My husband is a man who has always been able to take it or leave it with alcohol. He can have one drink and nurse it for like 2 hours. He can have 2 drinks and nurse them all day. He can go weeks, months even without a drink, and it literally doesn't even cross his mind. I held so much shame that I wasn't that kind of person. I felt inherently broken, like something was wrong with me because I could not do that the way that he does it. And so when March of 2020 hit and the world started going through what the world went through, it was a real reckoning for me because I quickly saw that it didn't even really occur to him to respond to everything that was happening around us by drinking. I very much responded to everything that was happening around me by drinking because it had become my go-to coping mechanism for anything and everything in life for years up to that point. So then when this like hugely unexpected and catastrophic feeling thing happened, my knee-jerk reaction was to just drink more, but it wasn't his. And I knew that if he saw me drinking as much as I wanted to be drinking, he was going to say something, and it was going to become very, very obvious and apparent that I did have a drinking problem. So I just decided to start hiding it. And I had all of the justifications for that too, right? It was just like, now, I'm home all day with the kids, no help for Dylan because we couldn't get any help in our home during that point in time, dealing with all of the uncertainty, and he was still gone for work. So I just started buying alcohol in secret and started hiding it in my office so that he wouldn't know that I was drinking every night. Because I was telling myself again, like, now is certainly not the time to try to address this, right? Like, who knows what was going to happen? How was this all going to turn out? All I knew was that point in human history, March of 2020, the spring of 2020, was not the time for me to try to quit drinking. So I just started lying about it more and I started hiding it. I did that. Like, I want to look back and think that it was like hard for me to make that decision, but I don't think it was at the time, you guys, because alcohol just had its claws in me so deeply. And even though I knew that my drinking wasn't normal, right? I knew it wasn't normal because I recognized that if I drank as much as I wanted to and my husband knew about all of it, it would be a problem. He'd be concerned. But I still could justify it. I still absolutely could tell myself that it was okay. And that it was like, well, this is just temporary, right? Like, this is just a really crazy time. And I've got to make sure that I can still take care of my daughters. And I've still got to keep running my business from home. And I've got to keep doing all of these things. So what is the big deal if I just want to make sure that I have enough wine and vodka to get through this? So much so that I'm hiding it in my home office. Like, there's always excuses. There's always justifications. And I had no problem continuing to just stack up those excuses and stack up those justifications. And this went on for 2 years, you guys. My drinking escalated a lot over the next 2 years. A couple times I kind of had some, come to Jesus moments and was like, this is probably not great. I need to take a break. And I managed to take a break. One time, I think I made it like 8 or 9 weeks. Another time I made it 6 weeks. But those breaks, you guys, were always done from a place of, well, I'm just going to take a break for a little while so I can prove to myself that I don't have a problem, right? That's like the magic. Those are the magic words. That's what we always tell ourselves. Like, well, if I can take a month off, if I can take even 2 months off, like, well, then I'm fine. Like, I don't have a problem. So I'm just going to take this break, take a break, prove to myself, prove to my husband, prove to anybody else that might be paying attention that I'm fine. I'm fine. It's fine. So I would take a break. But you guys, they never stuck. Because I really was always like, well, this is just a reset. I'm just doing this to prove to everybody that I'm fine. And then I can go back to drinking and it won't be a big deal. But they also never stuck because all I was doing was not drinking. I 100% was just white knuckling it through those weeks and like avoiding life. I would make sure that I didn't really plan very much. I skipped out on all the girls' nights out, skipped out on couples dinners, didn't do any traveling, like really didn't do anything except sit home for 4 or 6 or 8 weeks so that basically I wouldn't be tempted by anything to want to drink. So of course that was never going to work because I wasn't actually trying to change my behavior. I wasn't trying to learn anything about why I drank so much or how alcohol had become like so important in my life. I was just like, well, if I just don't drink, then I'm fine. And now looking back, like I didn't know any better at the time. I really thought that that was all there was to it. And so after taking a long enough break, I would start drinking again. And it was like, okay, this is fine. It's not a big deal. Except you guys, it was never fine. And it was always a huge deal because what happened every time I managed to take those breaks is very quickly, within weeks, I found myself not only drinking just as much as I had been before I took the break, but somehow drinking even more, like starting even just a little bit earlier or needing to drink more to get the buzz, to get the same feeling. And now I understand that. Like now I understand that that is literally how alcohol works, that we don't ever get to just go back. You can't take a long enough break to get your brain to somehow magically reset to a point in time 20 years ago where you got a buzz off of only 2 glasses of wine. Like the brain does not work that way. It's never going to happen. But I didn't know it at the time. So in my head, I was like, oh, this is good. I took these breaks. I'm somehow magically going to be fixed. I'm not going to need to drink as much or as often. And it was always just like a big fiery crash and burn. Just a matter of weeks, sometimes not even weeks before I found myself, stocking up on wine and hiding it in my office and drinking a whole bottle before my husband would even get home from work. And then opening a bottle, making it look like it was my first glass when really I was on like my 5th. And so this just went on and on. That was the cycle of my life from March 2020 to the summer of 2022. And you guys, that's when I finally had just had enough. And there was no big rock bottom for me. Like I didn't have a big moment where I like burn my life to the ground or hurt myself or hurt anybody else or anything. It was a day in August of 2022 when I finally just admitted it. Like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I had spent that summer of 2022 drinking more than ever. I would start drinking at about 4 o'clock every day. Most nights drink until midnight or 1 a.m. So it got to the point where I realized that I was literally spending more of my waking hours every day drinking than not drinking. But I was hiding a lot of it still. So my family and the people around me didn't know how much I was drinking. They thought I had like a few drinks that night and that was it. I had started really experiencing like some crazy heart palpitations and just like racing heart when I slept at night that summer. And they really started to scare me. That summer is when I got an Apple Watch for the first time. That started tracking my sleep. And when I saw those numbers, like when I saw that while I was asleep at night, my resting heart rate never went below 70 to like 75 beats a minute. And so, of course, I Googled like, what's a healthy resting heart rate for a woman my age? and it said like 40 to 60 beats per minute, or that was one of my first kind of aha moments. It's still not a big rock bottom, or maybe like a pebble, right? Like a pebble in my shoe, but it stuck in my brain because it just kind of really started to scare me. And I was like, so that's probably been going on for years now at this point. So that went on that summer, and we then moved into a new house in August of 22. So this is where I had a moment. I still don't consider it a big rock bottom, but it was my defining moment, you guys, because what happened is we had been living in our new house for about 2 weeks. I was standing in my bedroom with one of those small plastic bottles of Svedka vodka, which I bought purposely because it was plastic. So those were always easier for me to like tuck away and hide than a big glass bottle. And I was standing in my bedroom, rifling through my underwear drawer, trying to decide if this was a good spot to hide vodka. And in that moment, I heard my own voice in my head, but it was my voice sounding like so much steadier and so much stronger than what I ever actually sounded like at that point in time. And so my voice inside my head just said to me as clear as day, was like, really? Is this really who you want to be? Is this who we are? We're now a woman that hides vodka in her underwear drawer. You're going to stand here and try to find a place to hide this vodka. So this, you're okay with this. This is just who we are now. And you guys, I don't know why that moment, more than any of the other moments I had had in the previous years, was the one that kind of brought me to my knees, but it did, because I just knew I was finally just willing to admit to myself that this was not normal and this was not okay, and that I wasn't okay. I knew that I couldn't keep doing it anymore. I knew that I didn't want to keep doing it anymore. Like in that moment, I was finally just like, I'm done. I am done with this. I finally, in a way that I had never felt before, knew that I wanted to change more than I wanted to keep drinking. So you guys, now I want to pause my story here to say something, because I always pause here when I tell my story, because as I've shared my experience the last 2.5 years over on Instagram and have grown a following and a community there, something really interesting always happens at this point when people are hearing my story. And it's that if you are somebody that has been struggling with your drinking a little bit, and now you hear me talking about how my moment, like my rock bottom, my whatever, my aha moment was when I was standing in my bedroom trying to decide if I was going to hide vodka in my underwear drawer. And your first thought is to tell yourself, well, I'm fine because I don't do that. Like, I would never do that. I'm not doing that, so I must be fine. I am telling you right now that you are missing the whole point. My drinking was causing me problems for years before I got to the point that I was hiding alcohol. But I ignored those signs for years. I ignored that nagging little voice in the back of my head that told me that things were not good. So if your first reaction right now to hearing my story, to hearing me telling you about hiding alcohol, if your first reaction is to tell yourself that you're fine because your drinking isn't that bad yet, you're not hiding it yet, I'm just telling you that you're playing with fire. Alcohol is an addictive drug. And if you keep giving it time and chances, it absolutely can turn you into a woman that is hiding alcohol in her home office or in her laundry room or in her dresser drawers. It happens to the best of us. Why wait for things to get that bad? Anyways, you guys, back to my story. So the vodka in the underwear drawer was finally enough. That was my moment where I just said, no more. So I asked for help. I admitted that alcohol was causing me problems. I told my husband that I wanted to get help to quit drinking. And he responded the best way that he could. He didn't understand it because he'd never struggled with alcohol, but he trusted me enough to know that if I was saying I needed help, then I really needed help. And he also trusted me enough to believe me when I said that I couldn't figure it out on my own. Because that part he had seen me try to do for years. And every time I said I was going to take a break from drinking or quit drinking, I always started drinking again. And so when I told him that I was ready to get some help to quit drinking, he was supportive. Thank God. So that's what I did, you guys. I found a sober coach. I found an online program and I put myself in a program so that I could seek the help of others, so that I could have people who were sober and actually really happy about being sober teach me how to do the same thing. And you guys, that's what they did. Slowly, like one day at a time, one thing at a time, things started to change. I listened to what these people had to say, and I found new ways to cope with the stress of my life. I found new ways to relax. I found new ways to unwind at the end of a really hard day. I found new ways to connect and hang out with my husband and my friends and my family. A big part of it was addressing why I had turned to alcohol in the first place. Like for me, it was absolutely the stress of being a special needs mom and homeschooling and working from home and all of the stuff I was doing for everybody else. But I figured out how to start doing it even better while also taking better care of myself. I developed new coping strategies. I started to make small but really significant changes so that my day-to-day life was not something that made me feel the need to escape or numb out. And so, you guys, this is when I also started sharing my story on Instagram. 100% in the beginning, just as a way to hold myself more accountable. Typing kind of like journal entries about what I was feeling was really cathartic for me. It was a really powerful part of the healing process I was going through. And so I started sharing it online, really as another layer of accountability for me. It was another way that I could kind of stretch myself to show up, and was hoping that if I did that, it was going to be another thing that made this be the time that this all stuck. That this would not be just another couple weeks before I decided to drink again, but that hopefully this would be the one where it all clicked and came together. And that's what started to happen in a way that I could not have seen coming, because very quickly I started growing an audience and a community of just beautiful people that had so many similarities to me. So many people that were either still struggling to quit drinking or had just recently quit drinking. And I was blown away by how many of us there were and how much we had in common, and also how much we could cheer each other on and share what was working for us and what wasn't working for us and what we were learning, and just being able to chat with people that got it, with people that understood parts or all of what I had gone through and what I was going through in the moment. So I did all that while continuing to just learn and figure out how to have fun without alcohol, how to enjoy the big moments of life sober and the little moments too, how to get through my days without wanting to go back to drinking. And you guys, slowly over even just the first couple months, I started to feel like myself again for the first time in years. I felt like I was coming back to life. I didn't feel ashamed anymore, and I didn't feel alone, and I didn't feel lost, and I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel like there was anything wrong with me anymore. I started to feel a lot more peaceful and a lot more content and proud of myself and really hopeful, because I had stepped out of this cycle where my internal dialogue and my days were filled with just this running commentary inside my head of what's wrong with me. I'm so disappointed in myself. I'm so mad at myself. Why can't I figure this out? I'm so dumb. I'm so weak. And now I wasn't any of those things anymore. I was really proud of myself, and I was thinking clearly, and I was feeling optimistic, and I was feeling joy, and I was experiencing all of this stuff that I hadn't felt in such a long time. And you guys, this is the best part, is that now, you guys, I feel better about myself and my life, physically feel better, emotionally, mentally, than I ever have before. Ever. And so all of this, everything I have now, came from doing that one thing that I never thought I could do, which is quitting drinking. I'm a woman in my late 40s now who has been born and raised in Wisconsin, which, AKA the drinking capital of America. I was a proud, card-carrying member of Mommy Needs Wine Club, right? I had all of the cute tank tops. I had the dish towels. I had wine glasses. I literally had a whole Pinterest folder dedicated to drinking memes. And now I'm telling you that quitting drinking is hands down the best thing that I have ever done for myself. I am so much happier. I'm so much more relaxed. And I still have a lot of fun. I actually most of the time have more fun than I did when I was drinking. Everything that was good in my life before I quit drinking is even better now. And all of the stuff that was hard before, that's better too, you guys. Sobriety doesn't magically fix everything, but it 100% makes everything more manageable. It's made me more capable. So you guys, my story is one of hope and it's one of redemption. It's a story of possibility. And mostly, I think it's a story of everything that we have to gain when we let go of this one thing. So if any of this sounds familiar, maybe it's your story too. Maybe parts of it are your story. And so maybe you also can write yourself a new ending. So if this episode spoke to you, if you're feeling stuck in that cycle still, just know that you are not broken and you are not alone. I've created something called the Alcohol-Free Blueprint for women just like you, because I know how impossible it can feel to step out of that cycle of drink, regret, repeat. Everything that I did to quit drinking and everything that I continue to do on a daily basis to be sober and happier than ever is inside of the blueprint. So if you're ready to change your story, I can help you. Check out the link that's in the show notes or hop over to Instagram and send me a DM. I would love to chat with you. And if you love this episode, hit subscribe because we're just getting started here, you guys. That's it for today's episode. If this conversation resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And if you're loving the show, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave a quick review. It helps others find this message and start their own journey to freedom. Until next time, keep choosing yourself, keep believing in what's possible, and remember, you are so much stronger than you think.